Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the studio this evening. So tonight we are doing part 2 of our shore birds, or birds that I find here in and around the coast of California where I live. And I don't know. Let's just get right to it. We don't need to hear me talk. Let's get right to it. There we go. Here's our picture, and just let me show you. We've got the 5 birds here: a cormorant, a great blue heron, a black-crowned night heron, snowy plover, and not really a shore bird, but one of the birds I really like around here, the vulture. There it is. If I step back for a second, I am using a spiral notebook. This is a Pro Art watercolor paper. It is 12 by 16 inches and 140 pound. I picked this up at my local community college. This whole pad, what did I say last week? There's 15 sheets to it. I think 15 sheets to this. Pretty big size. For under $10. I'm going to be using, or trying to use for the most part, where's our logo at? Here we go, my silver black velvet brushes. Here they are. I've got two, what do I have? 2, 4, 6, and 8. I guess that means I really appreciate. I'm going to be using my M-gram paints. Here they are, the same paints I've been using for a while now. Let me go through the colors so we all know what they are. Starting here, I've got turquoise, phthalo blue, ultramarine, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, cobalt green, phthalo green, olive green, azo green. I've got some neutrals, sepia neutral tint, and Payne's gray over here. Down on the bottom, I have cobalt violet, maroon perylene, alizarin crimson, pyrrole red, quinacridone rose, burnt umber, azo orange, gambos, Hansa yellow, and yellow ochre. So I basically have my blues, my greens, reds, orange, and neutrals in this palette. Let me put that over to the side and see if I can't turn on the paint cam. There it is. I hope it's all in there. Pretty good. In there, my color card is going up there so I can refer to it. And with that, I think I'm gonna just dive right in. Let's see, where's the guy? Here's the guy. I'm gonna start with tonight. One more thing before I get going with my birds. It is raining outside for where I live. It's raining quite heavily. If you hear something in the background, it's probably water hitting the roof of the studio. Nothing I can do about that, and I'm hoping that our paint will actually at some point dry instead of just stay wet with all of the moisture in the air. I'm not really sure how this is going to work out, but we're going to push on through. I'm sure we'll figure it out somehow. Okay, let's see. I'm going to start over here with this cormorant. I know I want to darken him up. I'm not exactly certain what I did last week with him, but I can see in here, it looks like maybe I've got some phthalo green, so let me grab a little bit of this phthalo green, and I know I want to darken him up a little bit, so I'm also going to grab just a touch of Payne's gray to cool that down. That phthalo green is such a crazy color. I don't want it just totally overpowering everything, and I'm going to mix in a little bit of sepia in here. There we go. And And I'm going to look at the picture. Let's see, maybe I can move this a little bit like this and whoop, zoom in just a bit. Maybe that'll make it easier, and maybe at some point I'll remember to move the camera back out when I change to my next bird. But I'm just going to look at my picture here and just drop in a few of these dark colors where it's at on his wing over here. It looks a bit funny that he's got these darks right on the top of his wing, but I guess the light is coming from over here. Maybe that's a cast shadow from his body, or maybe it's maybe I don't know where the light's coming from on this picture. But nevertheless, it's on the picture that way. So I'm going to drop that there, and I'm going to let that, I'm not going to let it do anything. Hang on a minute. I'm going to force it to blend out that little bit. Something like that. And I'm going to use the same color, and I'm going to just tick in some lines like his feathers up here, and maybe just use that to further differentiate a couple of these feathers. These big long flight feathers that he's got down here. There we go. And you know what? It's not in the picture this way, but I think what I want to do is darken this up a little bit just back here also. I'm going to maybe bring that whole color up that way just a little bit and span this entire wing. Something like this. And I'm going to blend it down so it's lighter down here next to his body. I'm kind of trying to push this back up in a little bit. My whole table is at I don't know, 10 or 15 degree angle, and from time to time it does tend to force my colors to run down, maybe sometimes a little more than I want, if I'm being totally honest. And on this wing, I'm going to get some color right up here on the top of this wing and just bring it down towards his back like that. And again, I'm going to blend it out. When I'm doing this blending, I'm trying to do it with only a little bit of water. So if you see me reach up that way, that's where my water is. And I grab my water, and just below my water, I have a sponge up there. So I grab that little bit of water, I dab it off on my sponge, and then come back and oftentimes dab it right on my towel here. And in that way, I'm hoping that I can really control that water level really well. There we go. And now I want some color out here a little bit too. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter. I'm going to go into a little bit of this burnt umber and just mix that right into the colors we've been working with. And the rest of this wing out here was just a little bit light. I don't want to make it that same dark color that it is up on top of the wing up here, but it was a little too light for me. I think that's a bit better. Alright, I think he's taking a little bit of shape now. Let's see how he looks when he dries in a couple of minutes. Hopefully he's going to dry in a couple of minutes. I guess that's to be determined. We don't know. Oh, and I've got to do his head here. Okay, so let's do that. Let me get a little bit more of this sepia, a touch of Payne's gray, and my phthalo green. There's a good mixture of that. And I'm going to come in and really darken up right around his bill and his eye. Does he have a bill or does he have a beak? Water birds have bills, right? Other birds have beaks. Is that how it goes? Anybody know how that happens? And I'm going to put a little bit of color in here and let the two mix together. Right on the page there, right on the page. We're going to end up with this nice gradient. There you go. I think that's a great head on him. There we go. Maybe I can zoom in and you can see the detail work in there for just a second. There you go. That's what he looks like. The only thing we have left really is to put on this nice bill. You can see here it's got this nice orange and nice yellow in it, but we're going to come back to that after he is a bit drier. So let's move his page off to the side and let's start to tackle our next one. Here he is. And again, I'm going to try to work left to right on this because I have learned when I work right to left, then I end up putting my hand in the in the water, and that always turns out no bueno, not very good. In fact, now I might put my hand in his wing. God, whoa, in his wing. I even forgot that for a second. Alright, so what I'm using here is just a little mix of azo orange and gamboge. And I'm just painting that in where his beak is, just to start the color in there. This is where I get to just do like I used to do when I was a little kid and stay between the lines. I know a beak is supposed to be yellow. Gotta paint it yellow. Gotta stay in the lines. There we go. And I'm going to let that dry, but I'm going to move up here to the top of his head, and I'm going to have to mix up a color here. And I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but it's a really dark blue here. It's not actually gray, so I'm going to see what kind of a dark blue I can mix. I'm going to start with phthalo blue. And it's a strong blue, and it's got kind of a funky color. I understand that. Phthalos are all good for mixing. Let's see if I can tone this down with just a bit of neutral tint. Neutral tint has a bit of purple in it. Payne's gray is a blue gray. Neutral tint is a purple gray. I like using it. There we go. I think I like that color, that little puddle I've made there. I hope you guys can see that. And I'm going to paint this little bit on top of his beak. Here he's got some nice colors around his eye. Down here, thankfully this is one area where if you don't get it exactly right, it's okay because every bird looks just a little different. So the one we're painting looks like whatever we're going to paint it like. Lucky for us. I should say, for no particular reason, I just like the feel of it in my hand a little bit better. I have switched to a size 8 brush. Like I said, there's no real reason for that. It feels a little bit better in my hand, and the brush still comes to a fantastic point. I don't know if you've heard me talk about these brushes before. I didn't really want to like these. I tried them out. They didn't feel right. They didn't look right. I don't know what it was about the brushes. And I had them for a while, and I didn't use any of them, and I kind of just I shied away from it. I thought, there's just no way I'm going to use those. I just wasted money on these brushes. And then the strange thing happened that I picked them up again after several months and actually found out that I kind of like them. I've been debating how I want to use them, or if I want to use them more. And I think what I've come up with is, they're nice brushes and they're not all that expensive, and so I'll probably keep using them. Alright, so now I'm going to come down here. I'm going to make this a little bit bluer. Working in our same little puddle there. He's got this nice blue patch right on his shoulder here. I'm just going to color that in. It's a bit of a weak wash. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Before I darken that down too much, maybe a little bit more, before I do too much with it, I'm going to, I put a little bit of that neutral tint in it, it really strengthens it up. I don't want to do too much. I really didn't want to do quite that much. It would allow me to come back and add a little bit of extra color to it and adjust it however I wanted. And I'm going to stay with that color, and I do want a bit more of a soupy wash at this point. And what I'm going to do is come into this area down here, and I'm going to put in some color down here to make these feathers stand out just a little bit. I'm just going to drop in a little bit of this color like that. And these ones down here, I'm going to give them a nice soft edge. Again, just barely dampening my brush. Get most of that moisture out of there. There we go. And then just soften that edge out. You know what? I got a couple of lines down here. We could drop in a line. We could strengthen up that line a little bit. And I know that this area underneath is a bit darker down here too. And without doing much to it, we've added a whole bunch of dimension to this bird. Let's see, there that goes like that. And now you can see how these feathers are arranged on this bird's body. Just a bit more of this blue. I want to tighten that up a little, just a few spots here and there. No questions tonight. Everybody's being a little bit quiet tonight. That's fine. I will try to talk and carry the conversation. Sometimes I can do it, sometimes I can't do it. But if you've got any questions, go ahead and throw them out there. I will do my best to answer them for you. While you're thinking of questions to ask, I'm going to move over. I'm going to let everything on this guy dry, on his head dry, down here before we do anything else. I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to come over to, here he is, our friend, the black-crowned night heron. There's a picture of him there. And the thing I noticed, I was reviewing these pictures earlier today, and that blue is very close to the blue that we've been using. So I can mix up a bit of this. Again, it's just phthalo blue and neutral tint. There we go. And I can start to drop this on his head. That didn't sound good. I can start to fill his feathers with color. That sounds like a better way to say it. I don't want to say I'm going to drop him on his head, or drop anything on his head. Just trying to be real careful. For me, a couple of small strokes here and there are better than one really big stroke. I can kind of gauge how close I am to the edge with a bunch of smaller strokes, and just keep getting a little bit closer and a little bit closer to that edge, rather than one giant stroke and maybe getting on that edge, maybe not getting on that edge, maybe getting over or under. I just find it a little bit easier. Yeah, this guy's coming together already. He just needed a little bit of color on his back, and we'll do a little bit of extra work on him. Not too much. I think he's doing really well. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at him compared to that picture. He's looking great. Got just a little bit left to do on him, and we've got his bill. Actually, I'm going to drop down from this size 8, and let me get the size 4. And I'm going to keep a lot of that same color, but I'm going to introduce a bit more Payne's gray to that. It looks to me, as I'm looking at this picture, as though there's some blue in that bill, and I want to keep that in there, which is why I'm starting with our color as a base, our blue, the blue color that we've been using, starting with that as the base. And we will just drop this in. Let's get it nice and straight there. When that dries, we'll add some extra details to that, but that's looking good. He's looking really good already. All right, now, didn't have a whole lot of more to do on him. I'm going to come down and get onto our little friend here, the snowy plover. And I'm going to get some Payne's gray, and I'm going to use a bit of this green color that we had going, this greenish brown color that we had going with our cormorant here. And I'm going to work to fix up his beak just a bit. It doesn't need much work. I think that's it. And I'm going to use that same color for his eye. I'm going to leave that highlight right there, because that highlight is going to give him all of the personality that he needs. And I'm going to mix a little bit of my burnt umber with a little bit of neutral. Is that the right color? Is that the color I want? That's okay if I put in a little bit of this maroon. There we go. I'm going to drop his legs in here. There's one. There's the other. luckily these legs are just kind of straight. There's not much to them, which means we don't have a whole lot to do with them. Melody, hi. So I've seen your video before, forgot how long you've been painting for. Oh, you did my snowman. I love that snowman. So I'll tell you the whole story about my painting. Let's see. Trying to get the timing right. I guess it was about 12 years ago or so. Oh, good. You're good. I hope you did I'm sure you did a great job with it. 12 years ago or 13 years ago or so, as a way to disconnect from the workday world, I wanted something much more analog to do, rather than sit home and be on the computer or watch TV or, I don't know, do anything that we typically do and take for granted. I didn't want to do that. I wanted something different. So I went, what is the most analog thing I can do? I'm going to try that. And I got some watercolor paints. I was working at a university at the time, so I went down to their art store and I got some paints and talked to the guy there, and he said, oh yeah, try these and do this and you'll be fine. And so I did, and I got home and I started painting. Literally tiny little paintings. I would use a Winsor Newton. Now these are big, but a Winsor Newton University brush like this. Only they were tiny. These are all the only ones I have anymore are flats. But I would use that, and I'd do a painting that literally this would have been a big painting for me. And I kind of futzed around with it and did a few things, and I liked it. I did okay with it, I think. And then I met the woman who eventually became my wife, and we started doing things together, so I kind of put that away in order to do more things with her. And I just didn't touch it for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. 2 years, 3 years maybe? I don't know, for a short while anyways, but a while. And we happened to be walking through an art fair that was taking place in our town. And we walked past a number of watercolor booths. And I opened my stupid mouth and I went, well, look at that, I can paint that. Shoo, I can do that, I can do that. And my wife was not in any mood to hear me boast and brag that day, apparently. And she said, either put up or shut up. I don't want to hear you talk about how you can do it. Let's see if you actually can do it. Just do it. And I went, okay. Yeah, I can do that. And so I picked up my paints after a couple of years again and started painting. And I would just do it on my lunch hour. I took them to work. I would do it on my lunch hour. It wasn't long after that we started to talk about having a family, and we bought a house, and then there was not time to do it at home, so lunch hour was the only time that I really could do most of this. And so I started doing paintings in my lunch hour, and people started coming around and talking to me while I was painting because they wanted to see what I was painting. And that led into other people wanting to know other people that I work with wanting to know why it is that I would bother to spend time watercoloring on my lunch hour instead of doing, I don't know, whatever else people do on their lunch hour. And I just said, well, I don't really know. It's just kind of a fun thing to do. I enjoy it. I think I'm getting better with what I'm doing. And at my work, people seemed to think that I was getting better with my painting, with the things I was doing, and it was a bit encouraging to me. And so I started painting more and more, and at some point I started wanting to paint at home. I was getting busier and busier at work, as people do at work. And I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to carve out a place for myself in the garage. And I put up a couple of tarps to block off my area. And that's what I call my studio. And so I've been doing it now. Well, I started putting up YouTube videos, 3.5 years ago? Something along those lines. And I've just been painting in my garage in what I'm calling my studio for the rest of the time. I come out here almost every night. Almost every night I do something, even if it's nothing. I want to play with a little color. I'll play with a little color. I want to do some, not swatches necessarily, but I'll do some gradation paintings just to keep in practice, so I know what I'm doing, so that I can do it when I want to. I'll try to do line drawings. I actually try to do actual real drawings. And that's what I do. I don't know that necessarily is to answer your question. I think your question was, how long have I been doing it? So if I add up all the time, I've been doing it a good decade, I'm sure. I'm sure it's been at least a decade that I've been just painting, doing whatever at home or at my desk at lunch, and 3 years or so on YouTube. I hope that answers your question. I think I brought it around and saved it and answered your question. Watercolors are one of those they're like anything. They take a bit of work. They really do. Personally, I think it's worth it to put in the extra time and effort to do little drawings here or little paintings there, to try and do a little bit. I've been known to take my paints to the park with when I take the kids to the park. I actually took my paints to my paints to my son's birthday party, or not his birthday, but he was invited to a birthday party. I took my paints to the birthday party so that I could paint in a different environment. I wanted to see what it was like to paint. It was actually at a gymnasium. I wanted to see what it would be like if I could paint gym equipment. And lo and behold, I drew some stuff out. I painted a few things. It didn't turn out too badly. I'll be honest, it didn't turn out super great, but it didn't turn out too badly. And at this point, I keep a little sketch box in my the trunk of my car, so that when I need to pull it out, I can just pull it out wherever I've gone to and however I want to do that. Christina asks, where is the quill? Well, as it turns out, I've got one right here. Ta-da! But with these, I can't, each of these individual birds really isn't all that big. And it is quite difficult to control water with this quill. If I were doing a bigger bird or a bigger painting, I'd be all over using these quill brushes. But as it is, I really need to, or I feel I really need to be able to control the amount of water and amount of pigment that's going onto such a small area. So I have opted out of using the quill brushes for this and gone with something that is a bit more conventional, i.e. the silver black brushes. Have you tried the portable painter? You know what? I have not. I've seen some people do reviews of the portable painter, and it seems like a cool kind of a thing. That's the one that has everything inside of it, and you take it apart, and the two shells on the outside become water cups, and the paint sits in between it, I believe. That's the portable painter. I have not tried that, but it does look pretty interesting. I would love to try it out. What I have is a tin, like, see if I can find one real fast. Whoop. It is not this one, obviously. This is not the one that's in my car. This is one that's bumping around the studio here, but I just have a tin like this stuck in the car with a small pad of paper and a couple of brushes, and it takes up no space, and it's ready to go whenever I'm ready to go. But the portable painter is kind of it's a great idea in that everything can kind of sit up off of a surface. It kind of like makes its own stool or bench, I guess, for everything to get in. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of color. I hope this looks like this guy's starting to come together. I've been trying to paint, a little bit of negative painting here around a few of these wings, because if we look at the picture of this guy, he's got all of these light flecks on him. The edges of these wings really are reflecting some highlights, and I want to be able to show that off. Oh, I know what I'm going to do on him before I move on to the next one. Now, I did half of the plover and all of the vulture here, and I didn't talk at all about any of the painting I was doing. I just talked about other stuff. I hope that's okay. We can get back to anything that we need to talk about, but I've dropped down a brush size. In fact, I want to go a little bit of this neutral tint in with this maroon perylene. I want to make this really pretty dark down here, and that neutral tint, like I said, has a little bit of a purple tint to it. Neutral tint has a purple tint. That's a funny way to say it. So it's already got a little bit of red built in there, and that maroon perylene is such a dark color anyways. And I want that to be nice and dark underneath his chin there. And let's see, what I don't want is to draw on, or I oh, okay, I'm gonna step back for a second because all of a sudden my tongue has stopped working. What I don't want to do is lean my hand on top of him and ruin anything we've got going on with him. Maybe if I turn my page just a little bit, I can get in here. There we go. He's got that nose hole up there. These are just such crazy birds. And I don't know if you noticed it when I was painting his feathers. I did a lot of the feathers through this part right here that, you know what, let me do this a little bit, that I didn't do much with. I just kind of made a mark there, and I'm going to hope and pray. Now, it's a little less hope and pray for me these days because I've done it a number of times, but it always seems a little scary when you do it. You don't have the exact mark there. Should I? Can I get some feather-ish things in there? Can I not get some feather-ish things in there? How is it going to look? The reality is, just put some marks in there, and when somebody looks at this thing, they're going to look and they're going to see whatever feathers they want to see. And you don't have to spend all of your time trying to paint every specific feather. There's just no reason for that. And it's amazing how that works out. I don't know. I haven't figured out for the life of me exactly how that works out. I just know that it works out. It's so crazy. We rely on the viewer's perception of what they see to tell them what things are, rather than force everything down their throat. I have a friend who is quite an accomplished watercolorist. She does not do videos or anything, but her tagline that she tells everybody is she wants to, how does she say it? She wants to suggest, not state. So she's going to suggest some feathers over here. She doesn't want to state that there's a lot of feathers here and you know, really blast you away with all the feathers there. She just want to let you know there's a few feathers here. I think that's a really great way to say it. Okay, so I'm going to let that guy sit for a minute, and I'm going to come back to our cormorant, and I'm going to get a little bit of this azo orange, and I'm going to get a little bit of my Hansa yellow. Come on, Hansa yellow. There we go. And since he's going to be totally dry by now, I'm going to paint in a nice bit of yellow there, and with the rest of everything I need, I'm going to drop in this orange, and I'm going to let those mix a little bit, and hopefully I'm going to come out with something that looks similar to his beak. I realize that's pretty small, is probably hard to see. Am I on it? There we go. I think you can see that. I'm going to make it even a little bit more bright right around here. There we go. Now we're going to have a big difference between those two colors. A lot of orange right into some nice yellow there. And while I'm here, do I want to do this? I'm just going to give the indication of a few extra feathers in here. I'm just using that brown color that was there. Right, here's a few that go out that way, and a few that come down. I don't need to do all of them. In fact, he's dark enough, I probably don't need to do any of them, but I'm going to do a few. I don't need to do anything on his head. That's all nice and smooth. but a few feathers here and there might really set this off a little bit and darken up these feather lines just a bit. Let's see, that is a little taller. These are big, long feathers here. There we go. And I think I'm not going to futz with him a whole lot more. Let's see if we come back out. And we start to look at our, where is he at? At our, here we go. Start to look at this guy. We can take a middle brush. I'm going to go into our dark color here. And I'm going to start to draw in some of these feathers that are on his back. Just some lines, just suggest, like I said, just suggest that there's something here. We don't have to do all of it. Still a little damp there. Put a little bit of dark over there, and I want to run a little bit of this down part of that wing. There we go. Hang on, Melody, I'll get to you in just a second. I see you made a comment. Just give me a second here. I don't want to make these all the same size. I don't want to start them all in the same place. But I do want to put a few on. And even after we're done with this, I've got an extra little thing I'm going to show you. This can come up that way. That can come up that way. Got a few lines here and there, and so we just put on a few lines here, and all of a sudden, it looks like he's got some feathers there. Sorry it took so long to reply. If you did answer my question, I'm glad I got your question answered. I think I went way around everything that I needed to get to answer your question, but I'm glad I got it answered. I'm going to darken up a little bit out here. I feel like he's looking a little flat, and I don't want this guy to look flat at all. And I think if we give him just a little extra color here and there. That's so scary. One big fat line. Give him a little extra color here and there. We can, I know turning the paper, sometimes that bothers some people. I totally get that. Don't really mean to do that. But sometimes it does make it just a bit easier. All right, I did put a little bit of color in here, just kind of scrumbling that in. He doesn't have a, he's got a lot of different layers and textures in his feathers here, and so I'm hoping to replicate that with a little bit of color here and there, a little darker in some places, a little lighter in other places. I'll tell you where he does need to be darker. It's down here. I feel like I'm speeding up a little bit right now. I know we're getting close to the end. This is always a hard thing to do. I just put a couple little notches in the bottom here, and I think that makes it look like, oh man, like there maybe is some actual featherage here. Yes, featherage. I said it, featherage. I don't really know what featherage means, but I think it makes it look like there's some featherage here. All right, I'm not gonna move past this guy because this guy has a nice big yellow eye, and if we're gonna finish him up, we gotta paint that in there. A nice big yellow eye. There it is, and he's got some yellow out on that bill too. And what I want to do is go over this again with a little bit more of this azo orange, just underneath here, a little bit out there. And if I was really crazy, I could get just a little bit of azo red in there also. It might just set that off a little bit more. And there's his bill. That actually looks better. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow up here. I think it looks a little bare, just really pale. Up there, I want to give him a little bit of color. And I'm going to come into our brown color that we've been using. I'm going to give him a little bit of color up here. Just not quite as white as it was. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did, whoops, in the back. I'm going to hope to darken up part of his head here. I don't know if it's going to work all that well. Maybe it will. And I'm going to get a nice dark mix, really pretty thick, and I'm going to pull it out just like this, which is that kind of top knot feather he has right here. I hope you guys can see that. Whoa, there it is. But I want to make that really nice and dark because I want it to really pop and stand off so that you know it's there. I don't want there to be any question about it. What color is our eye on our heron? Ooh, it's a nice orangey red eye. I like that. A nice mix of azo orange and a little pyrrole red. And I can put my hand in here this way. Now he's got a black line around his eye that we can either paint in or we can draw in. Actually, this guy does too. Either way, this is small enough. I'm not going to bother with painting an eye in here for these two. I'm going to use this and get it in. I'm going to leave this guy the way he is. I'm going to come back with him in just a second. Oh, I need to do one thing here. You're going to like this. So, our heron here has, where is our heron? There he is. Our heron has these long plumes or something that come off of him. So I'm going to try to replicate that with, let's see if I can do this without smearing anything. Come on, pen. You can take this white pen and draw a number of lines on him. Oh, this pen is not working with me today. If I go back up that way, it'll work better. And then take a liner brush, go back into our blue, and where one of those stops, it's a little too dark. That is too dark. A little extra water in there. We can just grab it and continue it right on down. And it will look like Ta-da! It'll look just like the picture, or similar to the picture anyways. Won't look just like that picture. Let me draw a couple of these right down onto that cormorant. There we go. I knew I was missing something on that guy. What do I need to do? I need to do at least an eye on this vulture. It's very red. I get a little bit of permanent alizarin crimson, I think. I don't know how his eye can be redder than he is. There we go. We'll leave that there. We got some feet to paint on him too. Somebody needs to tell me we're forgetting a few items here. His feet are grayish. In this picture, anyway, let me put this up here. His feet are like this grayish, warm gray color. So, luckily for us, warm gray is kind of a mixture of everything we've got on our palette. There we go. Just drop his feet in like that. While I'm doing something, while I'm doing a thing, let's give this board, or this plank, or this, whatever we're working with here, whatever we want to call this, let's give it a little bit of extra color in here. And I'm just going to mix a bunch of colors here. There we go. That helps to make it look old and weathered, adding a bunch of odd colors there. We can try that with him, as long as we stay just away from his feet that we just painted. Come on, umber. What else do we want? A little bit of this greenish color in there. It's amazing how that will make it look old and weathered and everything. This guy is on a little stick here. Yes, I'm stalling. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for some of our paint to dry up here before we can get right back up to it. But we're just about done, and only a few things to go. This plover is on the beach here. Let me just give a little bit of yellow ochre. Looks like he's standing on something. I guess the only one who's not on something is this guy here. That's okay. Let's see if our eyes are dry yet. Not quite there, but I'm going to push the issue just a little bit. Now, these two have black right around their eyes, and black pupils, of course. And you can see on that guy, as soon as I draw that in, his personality really starts to shine through. I think he needs a bit bigger of a pupil. Okay, so he's still just a bit too wet to do that with. Ah! I did it. I just draw a line here or a line there. I'm going to give him one big black eye. Not a black eye. I don't want to say I gave him a black eye, but a black eye. He's so small that he's hard to see. And a little broken line there. And what I want to do on this plover is just take right along the edge where this paint is, just scratch in some white fleck marks, and that's going to make it look like he's got feathers that are coming over top of, there we go, feathers that are coming right over top of that paint on the other side. We can give some on his face and up here. Just a couple here and there. These white gel pens, when they're working for you, and it didn't work for me so well here, but when they're working for you, man, these are a super, super handy thing to have. Super handy. All right. A little bit of color on this guy's foot to denote he's got some kind of roundness, some kind of shadow that he's working with here. And if that eye would get done, we would be just about done. You know what? We can actually give this guy a highlight on his eye. There we go. And let's give this guy a little highlight there. And come on, Mr. That's better. But with that big of an eye, I don't want it to be there without a highlight. That makes it look better just like that. I think with this one, I'm going to call that good. I'm at 1 hour and 1 minute. I promised that I would try to do this in a 2-part 2 hours. Let's see. Cynthia, oh Cynthia, welcome. And you're cooking dinner again. That's fantastic. Actually, I only ate dinner about 10 minutes before I came out here to the studio. There they are. These are my shorebirds-ish. Yes, I know that the vulture is not truly a shorebird, but he's one of the ones I like that lives in around where I'm at. I see him flying all over the place around the coast. Ooh, chicken pineapple fried rice. Wow, that sounds delicious. Anyways, Cynthia, thanks for stopping by even at the very end. These are the birds I've got. Second part of this 2-parter. I hope you enjoyed seeing these. I had a great time having you here in the studio this evening. Stop by next week. We'll do something else. I think I'll put up a poll on Tuesday or Wednesday to see what we want to paint next week. Other than that, we will call it good. Wait, I got another question. Vultures don't waste a thing. Vultures do not waste anything. Vultures take care of everything except for large bones. They're pretty fantastic. Okay, anyway, that's it. Thank you all for stopping by. I had a great time. If you would, hit the subscribe button down below or give a like to the video. That's it for me this week. Thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.